My wife walked in when I was watching, and it was unfortunately one of the most awful scenes that could possibly be shown to anyone's eyes on the screen. And she just looked to her right, saw the screen, and was like, oh, and like ran out of the room as quickly as possible. She was like,
Yeah.
she's like, I will leave you alone. I will leave
want
you
a
alone.
divorce, actually,
you
so
sinner,
I never have to.
you heathen. And then, I was like, listen, that was just a commercial for something else.
This is my favorite show, by the way.
I love The Boys. As I'm wearing my boys hat and drinking my compound V.
Were you naked for some reason?
I love it.
Wait, hold on, sorry.
No, but I
watch
just
The
feel
Boys
like that
naked?
would be a scene where I don't know why you were naked, because it's just the scenario.
No, man.
You guys don't understand. I was coming out of the sauna, and I was like, "Wait, Shay, you have a sauna?
Well,
you watch The Boys while you're in the sauna?"
Wait, hold on. You tell me right now, your post-sauna tradition is not putting on an episode of The Boys?
I feel like it should be. I mean,
It should be.
If it works for you,
There's also a sauna scene in this show that I won't go into. But
no.
But you know what? That was the scene she did walk into. Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of The Boys Season 4. My name is Shahbaz, and joining alongside me are not the 7, but instead I have us, just the 3. Not as powerful as the 7. Probably couldn't take down the 7, but I would say our superpowers are definitely ones to look out for. Of course, we have Daniel, who can grow his eyebrows 3 times their size. Daniel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Is this happening like in a span of seconds? Is this like,
yes,
hold on, guys, let me just come out?
And it doesn't do much other than confuse them. Yeah, you're like an X-Men, the porcupine character that just shoots out like their
that just
needles.
shoots like the spikes of the needles of the eyebrows.
Yes.
That's, you know what? As long as I could do that, that's not too bad, because then I have an attack thing.
Right.
I feel like I would also want to grow them really big, like the Lorax. And I could like make a shield with them too, so I could attack, but also I could
protect just your face,
in them
your face.
That's the most important thing,
right?
Just the face.
Just don't shoot him in the heart, right?
No. I thought you were going to be like, you know what? We have the most important power of all, the power of friendship. But
that doesn't get us that far.
Eyebrows.
It won't get us that far. It does not. The 7 would immediately destroy us.
Yeah, they're dead. We're dead.
Yeah, we're dead immediately. And of course, we have Antony, whose powers are always a mystery, but he carries a bat around with him just in case things get a little hairy.
What's up,
Anthony? How are you doing?
Wait, a little hairy? Are you talking about me again?
Oh, damn! Yeah, if you get in Anthony's face,
my power is just beating Daniel. That's what
Daniel's eyebrows are getting thicker and thicker. You're just
making me mad.
And I'm just watching. I'm just like Jamiroquai over here with my bucket hat on, just watching it all kind of go down.
I think that's your power, Shay. I think you just have the ability of growing
of moonwalking
out of
in a room. That too. Yeah.
I was gonna say you just have a bucket hat that grows for whatever show or movie.
I'm ready for summer always. That's my superpower.
Yeah. Summer boy.
Exactly. Summer boy.
Summer boy.
I've got Coors Lights in my hand. I'm like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, like, hey guys, it's the best summertime. Like, let's go.
It's like, damn, he's dangerous. Get him away from everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
he's a crazy vibe.
He's a crazy vibe. Well, we're here, talking about The Boys, a show that we've been talking about for years now, and we're finally here at season 4. It's been a long road. It's about 2 years almost now since we had season 3.
It's just been about 2 years since the last season, and we've spoken about other shows, and obviously the pandemic plays a factor in this. But, we spoke recently about the Rings of Power having 2 years between the seasons. Stranger Things, I think, is going to have a decade between its season 4
They'll have
and
kids
5.
within the kids there, yes.
But no, they'll still be playing teenagers. So it's just interesting that we're getting longer windows now between seasons of shows.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because there's a lot to talk about this, of course. We're going to be as spoiler-free, obviously, as we possibly can. We're going to be talking about the entire season, all 8 episodes. And before we do that, there's a lot of housekeeping that we have to do. First of all, we want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Prime Video for letting us watch this entire series, because we get to do this opportunity for you guys. And we have a Discord chat open as well, where you can talk more about The Boys, more about what's kind of happening in that world. And of course, a huge shout out to them as well for inviting us to Mexico City to attend CCXP and also get to chat with the cast. If you haven't already seen those interviews, what are you doing? Those interviews are definitely spoiler free, and you should go check them out. They're a lot of fun. We had a really good time with them. And of course, there's a lot more that will be coming down the pipes soon. So definitely stay tuned for that. Of course, The Boys will be premiering on Prime Video with the first 2 episodes on June 13th and weekly right after that. You can follow us on any kind of social media platform out there. We're on X. We're on not Twitter anymore, right? It's officially X now.
We're officially X.
We're officially X.
We're Zeeting now. We're not tweeting. We're Zeeting.
We're also on Instagram and everywhere else that you can follow us. Go ahead and check out the show notes down below for all of that information. All right, well, let's get into our first reactions, and I want to kick it over to Anthony for your first reactions on The Boys Season 4.
Dun dun dun. Boys Season 4. No. You know, I don't know if I'm considered a Boys fanboy, but I feel like I am because I've watched the seasons twice now. And I know the gist of who the boys are. I read some of the comics. But going into this season and fully watching all 8 episodes, this season feels very much like the season before it, and the season before that, and the season before that. It feels very repetitive in the sense of the narrative and the storyline that we're getting in this season. And even though that, you know, we have the extremeness, the, you know, mass killings and blood everywhere and flying sheep and, you know, probably exploding penises somewhere in this series, you kind of get a little tired of seeing that because you really want a more detailed story. You really want the writing to bring out these characters. And this season is very much a political game. It really dives into Homelander and Victoria trying to find, you know, the solution of becoming a superpower nation, and Homelander's scheming and he's doing all that, and, you know, Butcher is trying to kill Homelander still, but he's dying. We know that from the last season. He has like worms and he has a black mass in his head, so there's some weird shit happening with him. And the boys themselves, they're always dealing with their stuff. Like Kimiko has her past and Frenchie has his past, and I've seen all that happen, and I really want something from this story that brings out these characters as a group and really focuses on progressing the story. And it wasn't until the end of episode 6, 7, and 8 where this series found its rhythm. It found its purpose, really. Like, it had so much more like lightning to its story. It became more serious. There was consequences. Everything that you wanted from the first 6 episodes came at the last 2. And I felt like, man, this is becoming too... I spent 6 hours watching this. This is too late for me to be like, oh, I enjoy this season. I'm almost thinking like, I think I'm going to enjoy season 5 more than I'm going to enjoy season 4 if they continue that pace. But really, like, I just felt very... I was really disappointed. Really, I just felt, when is this story going to pick up? Come on, let's go. Let's get going. And it wasn't until that, you know, episode 7 where there are consequences and you see these heroes have to deal with certain things, which we can't talk about because, you know, we have a list here. I'm going through this list of what things not to talk. I can't even say The Boys at this point. I don't know. I just wanted more, and I got the more at the end, but I felt like it just took too long to get the more.
You know what? I totally understand where you're coming from. It's funny when I look back to myself with season 3, and I think with season 3, we got to review maybe the first part of it, like a first couple episodes.
I think it was the first 3 episodes that we had.
First 3 episodes, right?
Season 3, yeah.
Yeah, before we kind of got into more. And I remember kind of just not being fully on board yet. I felt a lot of the same things that you were feeling, Anthony, where I felt, hey, this is a lot of the same stuff we're getting. We're just getting the same, you know, sexually explicit violence and jokes. And it kind of felt like, okay, where's the substance to it? And it's interesting because there's a lot of things that you're saying, Anthony, that I really agree with, but also there's a lot that I felt completely different on, and I'm excited to definitely go into it further, because the one thing that I will say about the season that I found very interesting is that you can tell the budget is like double or triple what it definitely was for the previous seasons. There's a little bit of a different look to this season as well. And it really shows in a lot of the situations that happen, the way it's even shot, a lot of characters that pop up, a lot of different people. Obviously, we can't say who they are, but it's really interesting to see the amount of love that clearly Prime Video is giving to the show, because, you know, it does so well for them. And I'm happy to see the show getting a lot more of a cleaner facelift in a way with this season, because it's starting to look like it's got that money in it now. Sorry, Anthony,
that's so funny you say that, because all I kept thinking about is this show is now turning into something that I would watch on ABC, NBC. Like, it's more like this. You see the budget in the visual effects, but you don't see it in the scale of who these characters are. And almost
the scale
it shrinks them.
Definitely, but I think that's more story. I don't think that's really budget, right? I think that's the story.
And I wonder if that's something that's just like, okay, because there's not as much action this season, are we now focusing more on the look and feel of like these more dramatic moments? And yeah, I get the scale of what Anthony's saying, because a lot of the, like in previous seasons, you know, we've seen Homelander flying, taking down planes, having these giant action set pieces. Again, you look at the ending of season 3, where we have, you know, the boys and Homelander versus Soldier Boy, and that's a huge sequence. We don't really get anything as massive this season, so I think maybe it's a scenario of where we're like, well, they're just putting the budget in different places. Again, we don't know the budget of what the show is. Yeah, but it definitely is a different vibe this season, and I'm sort of in the middle of both of you. I know, Shay, you haven't given your first reaction yet, but yeah, I enjoyed my watch of this season. But when I'm thinking back as the boys of the whole over the last 4 seasons, I think I could remember more of what happened in season 1, in season 2, or in season 3 of who those villains were, what they were trying to hopefully overcome, than I am coming out of season 4. Again, I really enjoyed season 4 and I love the show. I just think that this season we did a lot of especially the first half of the season felt like, okay, we're laying all of the pieces. Like this season really is political. It is a chess game. This season 4 of The Boys is a chess game, and each piece is moving into position. So when episode 6 kicks off, everything's coming into play. The dominoes are all lined up and they are falling, and it's like, holy shit, this is what we've been waiting for. But leading up to that, it's very methodical, and I like that. I like seeing more Victoria Newman. I like seeing what's going on in the dynamic between Homelander and Ryan. I enjoyed seeing that. But I feel like when it comes like to Butcher and some of the other stories, we're like, okay, we're seeing a lot of the same story points and the same issues that we've seen in previous seasons, just wrapped up again this time around.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think there's a lot to kind of again unpack in that as well. We're talking about a show that maybe it didn't need to go to 4 seasons. Maybe by the end of the 3rd season, they could have wrapped a lot of it up, because you start to kind of what Anthony's saying. A lot of it starts to feel the exact same. But for myself, I really found myself really enjoying this season, especially in the beginning. I actually really liked the much slower pace. I enjoyed the drama this time around versus the insanity that we always are used to getting. And maybe that change of pace is what attracted me more to this season this time around. I really liked kind of just almost, it felt like HBO levels of drama where we're just kind of getting this more, courtroom-esque appeal. We're getting a lot more of the political side of things, and it's really this time around more so than ever really shining a light on certain groups of people that you're constantly seeing in the media. And I really, really enjoy that aspect of it. I enjoyed the new characters as well. Now, to your point, Daniel, is this the best season? No. Is this kind of a season that sits in the middle for me? I think so. Yeah, I think season 3 is still my favorite. Like, that's the season that I came around on at the very end, and I was like, wow, this was the greatest, show that I've ever seen. I loved Soldier Boy. Stormfront in season 2, very, very similar same situation as well. Really loved that character. And then I think for me right after that, this is kind of where this season sits. Still really damn good. I loved all the information that we're kind of getting about Victoria Newman, a character that we've been seeing in the past couple of seasons, just kind of now getting a lot more to do. And you're always kind of wondering, what is her next move? I loved Homelander a lot in this season because he's dealing with his own sort of issues per se, you know, really getting to that point of like, who is he? And you're seeing a lot of that start to crack within himself. And then of course you have the boys themselves who are dealing with their own internal conflicts. I think when it comes down to someone like, you know, Frenchie and Kimiko, I think they have some great chemistry, but my problem with their characters still is that they haven't, in past 3 seasons until now, really haven't done much growing. They had some great moments in the seasons before, but they're kind of still the exact same characters that we've gotten. I was really hoping that by now in this season, there'd be a lot more for them to do. But in certain episodes, one of them is gone for a bit, and the other one comes back, and then they're going to do their own mission. And I was like, it maybe doesn't feel like the writers knew what they wanted to do with that. And they kind of started focusing a lot more on Butcher this season, which is fantastic. You know, we love Butcher here. We want more of him for sure. Mother's Milk also gets a much bigger role, I think, in this season than we've gotten before. And
leader of the team. Like
leader of the team.
He is the main star in a lot of these episodes, and he's driving the pace and he's driving the action sequences in a lot of these episodes. So it's nice seeing the team expand a lot that way too. Yeah. But then it's also just like, well, what is Butcher up to? Like, where is he? And, you know, we're also introduced to Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who I wish had a lot more prominent role this season, because it felt like he was going to be someone that we would have around a lot more. And once the season wrapped, I'm like, okay, I guess that's all we're getting of him. And as someone who loves him and who, you know, is a big fan of Negan and his performance in The Walking Dead, when you have someone like that join your show, I was like, God damn, like, we're going to have like some really cool moments with him. And felt like I just continuously kept waiting for those moments to happen.
Because we were seeing in that marketing that it was this big moment of, you know, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character. It felt like, oh man, this is going to be Butcher's just right there, right-hand man. They're going to butt heads a little bit, but they're just going to always be on the same page. And you're really excited for it. But yeah, to your point, Daniel, like I kept waiting for more from his character, and I kept waiting to see like, where's this going to go? And then when we kind of start to see where it's going, it'll either just really throw a curveball for some people, or it's going to be like, yeah, I guess I saw that coming, and now I'm kind of wondering where we're going to go from here. And when there's certain moments that happen with this character, I was like, okay, maybe now we're going to start seeing him more. And it kind of doesn't change the pace of that character, and I really wish we got a lot more of him.
I do want to talk about Victoria's daughter. And I'm looking at the list here. I'm looking at the DNRs, and they don't mention her. So we last season we saw that Victoria gave her daughter V, right? And this season, I forgot the actress name who plays Kimiko. She mentioned during the interview that, you know, she was more afraid of her daughter's power, and she really didn't elaborate on it. And we see it in the first episode.
Yeah, we see it in the trailer too. We see it in the trailer.
Yes, we do see it in the trailer, yes. But you don't really see it. And we really see it in this first episode. And yeah, like her power is very monstrous. It's not even a power. I feel like she's just a monster at this point. She has kind of like these tentacle things that come out of her mouth, and they do some real damage. And she's unique.
Oh, they're horrifying.
But she's put in a position throughout this story where she's never utilized. You know, it's like, oh, she has powers. She's there. She's kind of like friends with Ryan. And I'm like, why didn't we get them together, like Ryan and I forgot her name, the daughter's name. But why can't we get them together to actually like have their own story? Like, because their parents are such, they're in cahoots with one another, but they're also,
and her daughter is in the sidelines
so
for much of this.
She just drops
again, like what you're saying, but we see that in the trailer as well. We see these like really cool moments where it looks like Ryan and her are meeting, and we're getting to this point where like, okay, like this is a cool dynamic, like you're saying, Anthony. Like we could see some potential here, and it doesn't really pan out the way that we kind of want. So there's a lot of interesting ideas that are laid out at the beginning that I really wish were kind of paying off towards the end. And like you guys have said, the last episodes are awesome because they really, you know, kick it up a notch, and they really put an idea as to what's going on.
Everything forward, right?
Exactly. But we're still not getting the really interesting ideas that could be explored. Maybe that's just kind of us being like, well, why did the writers go this way? And again, that's not the point of it, right?
It's a direction, right? Like this reminds me a lot of Invincible, where there's a lot of story, but there's never really a drive to get this story done. And these episodes are like an hour, and I don't know if they need to be an hour. Some of these episodes could be like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. They're very long, and I know they want to give The Boys fans the most, but I don't know if that's good for the pacing, and I don't think it's good for their storytelling, because it becomes really long and arduous to watch everything that's happening, because you forget everything that you watched 2 episodes ago because there was so much story.
Even stuff that happened at the beginning of the episode, like I'd watch the next episode and be like, previously on The Boys, and I'm like, holy shit, that was last episode? That felt like it was forever ago. And it's because you have these episodes that are longer. And I think, again, I really like this season, and I know I'm sounding like I'm a lot more critical of it. I really did like this season.
You hated it.
No, not at all. Like, far from it. I really enjoyed the season. I just think that the pacing is what really makes you feel the oh man, like this is longer than it needs to be. There's so much happening. There's so much being shown to you and told to you, but nothing that really feels that it's consequential to what's happening next. And I think that's where I'm just like, man, like I'm getting just given so much information of what's happening, but I don't really see like the consequences of that for the next scene. You're not going to get a payoff for that for a while. So like you're just kind of waiting a lot of time for something to happen. I do want to say someone who I think got a huge glow up this season and had some of the best moments was Chace Crawford. The Deep. The Deep.
That was literally my next thing I was going to say.
The Deep was probably my favorite character.
The best character this season.
It's the best that he's ever been in the season. He's given so much to do. And I loved Chace's performance in this. And I think he is just the MVP of the season. Obviously, Antony Starr, who is Homelander, carries the show on his back, because anytime he is on screen, that is when you are glued in. You are watching, you're waiting to see what he's going to do next. So whenever it's them two on screen together, and we were lucky that we got to talk to them together in our interview, it's just magic. And I think they do such a great job of, propelling this show forward. That because you just want to know, like, what are they going to do? Like, what is he going to do next? What can they get away with? And that's what's so fun about watching them. But I think The Deep got so much more to do this season, so it was really great to see.
When you have a character like The Deep, who in the last couple seasons I think was always good, like there was like always like just, oh, I'm the dumb idiot. He has that great moment on American Hero that turned into a meme, which we also spoke about in our interview. But that was really like the peak of it all, and I was like, okay, really, I don't know if we're going to be able to top that moment. But this whole season is full of the best Deep moments. Like if you were to make, the best of The Deep, a majority of it would be right from season 4, because he really is carrying a lot of fantastic moments this season.
Yeah.
Plus, you have some really cool new characters joining in, like Sister Sage and Firecracker. And I absolutely loved both of them, but there was something about Firecracker, and I think it's because you see characters like Firecracker on TV today, that I was just like, oh, I really hate you, but I really love your character. And I was trying to place where she's from, and I was like, oh my God, she's from Detroit Becoming Human. What a fantastic game that was as well.
Yeah, Valorie Curry.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And is Susan Heyward, who is Sister Sage, who, again, another character that you're just like, I know we're not supposed to like you because like of just how your character is written, and it's just so funny to see how she's used throughout the season. She has such a interesting ability that, again, I forget, it's, again, if you've read the comics, you know what their abilities are. But yeah, again, The Boys more than ever is a series that it feels less and less like you're holding up like a funhouse mirror to the world, and like, no, you're just kind of
just a regular mirror now,
as it is now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they also took the extra time, writing the season to obviously make changes to reflect what's happening in the world today, because so much of it is an echo, it is a parody, it is sometimes word for word of what you hear on the news and from political members and things like that. So it's just so funny to see that, and for us as Canadians watching this, being on the outside of that, again, we're not immune to it because we have that here too, obviously, but like it's just interesting seeing how, as we were saying at the beginning of this review, how politically forward this season was. And I think you need that too in a season or in a series of where it has been a lot of big action, a lot of craziness. You need sometimes to be a little bit more methodical. It may have leaned a little bit more methodical than it needed to, or maybe have just the pacing of it has stretched out a little more than it needed to. But I do appreciate that a lot of the stakes and a lot of what made the series by the end of season 4, the status quo isn't exactly what it usually is when it comes to the end of The Boys. In season 1, season 2, season 3, things typically go back to how they were. Season 4 is not the case as much.
No, it's definitely a more grand season in that place because it's really trying to tell a longer story. But, you know, like you mentioned the methodical side of the season. For me, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the pace. I thought like I was so locked in, and it was one of the few shows, again, that I didn't really have to pull up my phone. I felt very much like I was in it. And if I ever did have to pull up my phone, I'd actually even pause it because I didn't want to miss what was happening on screen. That's how invested I felt for the first couple episodes.
I want to say that that Homelander and Butcher are probably the most unhinged of all the seasons. The situation that they find themselves in. Remember, Butcher is dying, right? So he has nothing to lose, but he's also regrettable of his past. But you know Butcher, right? Like you can't trust what he says, especially when it comes to killing Soups. So you'll see different sides of him. You will see him transition from being, you know, I feel regret, but then I need to kill Homelander. And what he does to get to that point, I think, is a new perspective on his character. And then Homelander, who really is now like, I want to control the world, and he will do whatever it takes to get there. And you will see some really unhinged stuff. I know we've seen Homelander do like the airplane sequences, but there's things that are little that you put him into a different, you know, craziness and evilness in this. And I thought maybe this season would be more of a redemption for Homelander. I don't know why, because I was thinking, is Homelander ever redeemable? Will there ever be a scenario where Butcher and Homelander have to fight something else, right? Like I always feel I feel like there's always this weird, because of the world they live in, it just feels like anyone could be forgiven at any point. And, you know, truthfully, I do like A-Train as well. Like I think A-Train is fantastic.
Yeah.
A-Train was really good, man. Jessie T. Usher really, really did a great job. A lot more humanizing of his character. We've been getting a lot of that in the last couple of seasons where he was really like, it almost kind of always felt like he didn't belong in the 7. You know, that was always his thing. Like he was at battles with himself, you know, with his brother and his entire family. And this kind of like really comes to a point where that is a lot more focused. So yeah, Anthony, I'm glad you brought that up. Something that I also really, sorry, Daniel, do you want to say something about
No, continue, Shay, it's fine.
No, something I really liked as well is the episodes are like they're intercut with these commercials for Vought, and I really loved that style of it because it felt like I was watching this on the Vought network. You'd be kind of like scrolling, it'd be like scrolling through different channels and different advertisements would pop up. Really made the world feel really alive. I thought that was really cool. Also referencing a lot of areas like Gen V, which, I mean, if you watch that show, I loved it. I thought Gen V was absolutely fantastic. Like it's probably it's probably higher than The Boys for me at some points too, because of how much I loved it. And they really do a good job of connecting it. You see it in the trailer. Trust me, there's some really cool moments that happen with it. But again, it's also one of those things that I wish had a bit more to do with it too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Again, like we're not going to talk spoilers of it, but yeah, I think Gen V fans will be happy, and I think it's only going to open the door for one season 2 of that show, you know, airs, and whatever The Boys comes next. Hopefully, it's not 2 years away. But again, we're talking about a series that's, you know, premiered in when was the first season of The Boys? Did it come out in 2020?
2019.
So 5 years. Like at this point, if you're a fan of The Boys, you're locked into this. You're zoned in. If you're not a fan of the egregious violence or the egregious blood, it's not any different this time around. If anything, it's even more over the top in some scenes. And again, I'm not like I don't get like grossed out or just like, well, I mean, I get grossed out because it's like, it's not pleasant to look at.
We all get grossed out.
Yeah, but like I'm not like offended by it. But sometimes like you'll have a scene where it's just like, man, that just seems so over the top that am I supposed to just be shocked for shock's sake, or is this actually something that matters? And a lot of the times it's just like, well, it just goes to show you how like fucked up everything in this world is, right?
For instance, Game of Thrones, it always had that sex, like the predominantly very explicit sex, and slowly it disappeared into like really hardcore storytelling and really kind of like diverting from that and just focusing on. With The Boys, it continues with the violence, and you need it for sure, but sometimes it's like so over the top where I'm like, I've already seen this. Can we focus on the story now? I don't need.
You almost get desensitized to it. They're just like, okay, sure, that's what we're doing. Okay, let's go.
My wife walked in when I was watching, and it was unfortunately one of the most awful scenes that could possibly be shown to anyone's eyes on the screen, and she just looked to her right, saw the screen, and was like, oh, and like ran out of the room as quickly as possible. She was like, she's like, I will leave you alone. I leave
want
you
a
alone,
divorce, actually,
you
so
sinner,
I never have to.
You heathen. And then I'm like, listen, that was just a commercial for something else.
This is my favorite show, by the way.
I love The Boys. As I'm wearing my boys hat and drinking my compound V.
Were you naked for some reason?
I love it.
Wait, hold on, sorry.
No, but I just feel like
naked?
that would be a scene where I don't know why you were naked, because it's just the scenario.
No, man.
You guys don't understand. I was coming out of the sauna, and I was like, wait, you have a sauna?
Well,
you watch The Boys while you're in the sauna?
Wait, hold on. You tell me right now your post-sauna tradition is not putting on an episode of The Boys?
I feel like it should be. I mean,
it should be.
If it works for you,
there's also a sauna scene in this show that I won't go into. But you know what? That was the scene she did walk into.
Yeah, that's the scene that like I'm like, okay,
that was a scene.
This is it.
That was a scene where I was like, I wish I didn't have eyes or ears right now.
It's always Frenchie. They always show up in the awkwardest situations, and you're just like,
worst situation possible.
Okay,
okay.
So Anthony, please give us your final thoughts on season 4 of The Boys.
If you're a fan of The Boys, you're going to watch this season, but I feel like you're going to agree with a lot of the episodes is very long and it could be tiresome to get through. There are those scenes where you see extreme violence and, the craziness of The Boys world. But I think it's the ending of episode 6, 7, and 8, where it really picks up and it really captivates your attention and drives home where the story is going to go. It just took a really long time to get there. It's like 6 hours worth. And yes, there is some great sequences in there, but sometimes that long ass story can really bore you out. And I when I saw those last 2 episodes, I'm like, fuck, I'm ready for season 5. But we'll see when that comes out.
Thank you so much for that. And Daniel, what about yourself? What are your final thoughts on the season 4 of The Boys?
I really like the season. I think there's some great sequences, some great character moments. Again, I think The Deep really steals so much of season 4. And of course, Homelander. I mean, like, you're watching the show. If you're not, again, as awful as he is, Homelander is what makes this series. I think he's the character that everyone is looking forward to whenever a scene of his comes around, because he just carries the show on his back. Really good. I think the pacing is what really draws it down for me, and because it is a little bit more of a political, a little bit more of a chess game this season, when you do get that final payoff, when those dominoes are all lined up and they all fall over, it's some of the best boys that we'll get those last few episodes of the season. So I'm really excited to see where things go. But be prepared as a fan of The Boys to, have to wait for those payoffs, but they are worth it.
I totally get what you guys are saying. And for myself, I really, really liked the season. I thought it was really fun. I thought the methodical and more slower elements really kind of reminded me of like 90s espionage thriller films about the government that would kind of come out. So I really enjoy that element of it. But I totally get also where you guys' complaints are coming from as well, because a lot of that I do see in the show as well. So I'm really curious to see where they go with season 5, because Anthony, you're right, where they kind of end things off here, it feels like there's going to be a very action-packed and another different season of the show to come out that I'm really, really curious for. Of course, The Boys will be on Prime Video this June 13th with the first 3 episodes premiering. So go ahead and check it out. And if you do, you can join our Discord. You can let us know what you thought of the first 3 episodes or first 2 episodes, or maybe you only watched the first episode because you were like, oh, this is kind of gross, I don't want to watch anymore. Or maybe
I'm pacing myself.
Maybe it's bedtime.
I'm pacing myself.
You're pacing yourself.
I want to watch it. I'm waiting for Sauna Day so I can continue to watch the show.
Wait, hold on. Sauna Day is not every day for you?
Sauna day. Well, I mean, it is if you're summer Shahbaz,
like if you're
saying Sunday.
If you're
sounds like you're saying
summer
Sunday
shade
in a weird way.
Summer shade.
Summer shade. That's my
Summer
superpower. I got 2 Coronas and I'm in the sauna. I don't know what it does though. I don't know who I'm affecting other than myself.
See, it's just good vibes, man. You're just sending out good vibes.
Yeah, good vibes all day.
You call everyone boss for some reason.
Oh,
I don't like
but
you do it.
I don't like it.
But you do it.
Yeah, it sounds like a villain. He's definitely a villain.
Enjoy, boss.
Enjoy. Okay. Hey,
cheers.
Have one on me, boss. Anyways, of course, we are The Movie Podcast. You can follow us every single place at The Movie Podcast. Join us everywhere we go because you can follow us on TikTok as well. And guess what? TikTok is really popping right now. We have some great videos on there. There'll be a lot more cool reviews and interviews coming out very soon. So do go ahead and check that out. Of course, all the show notes below have where you can find us. That was This Time with The Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.